welcome all of the Facebook Live and YouTube listeners also. And we'll start with the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Aradhya Bhagavan Vrajesh Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachidupasana Vrajavadhu Vargena Vakalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumartho Mahan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhur Matamidam Tattradara Napara Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So we would like to start with the 8th canto, chapter 5, which says the demigods appeal to the Lord for protection. This chapter, it describes the 5th and the 6th Manus. It also describes the prayers of the demigods and a curse by Durvasa Muni. So in the previous 4 chapters, we learned that Gajendra, his pastime was under the 4th Manu, the Tamasa Manu. Now his brother was, Tamasa Manu's brother was the 5th Manu, Raivata Manu. And he had 3 sons, Arjuna, Bali, and Vindhya. During the reign of this Manu, the Raivata Manu, Indra, his name was Vibhu. Now remember, Indra is a post. All the demigods, it's not the names of the demigods, it's the post of the demigods. Indra is a post which is occupied every Manvantara after the reign of the Manu for 71 Mahayugas, 71 cycle of Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Kali Yuga. Ultimately, after 71 such cycles, there is a re-election, reselection of the demigods, of the Devatas. Under the reign of the fifth Manu, for 71 Mahayugas, Indra's post was occupied by a living entity. His name was Vibhu. And then demigods, there was some demigods who were known as Bhutarayas and some Hiranya Roma. These were the rishis, Vedashira, Urdhva Bahu. The rishi, one of the 7 rishis, Shubhra, he had a wife whose name was Vikunta, and Vikunta and Shubhra gave birth to a personality of Godhead known as Vaikunta. Vaikunta was the name of one of the incarnations of the Lord. This personality of Godhead manifested one Vaikunta planet at the request of Ramadevi. This, it seems, is also discussed in 3rd canto. Then this was the 5th Manu. Then the 6th Manu. 4th was Tamasa, 5th was Raivata Manu, and 6th Manu was Chakshusha Manu. This 6th Manu was actually the son of Chakshu Manu, another Manu. And he had 6 sons. And during the reign of this Manu, the name of Indra, the name of the living entity who occupied the post of Indra, was Mantra Druma. Among these demigods were Apyas and so many different living entities. One particular Devata, his name was Deva Sambhuti. His wife was Apyas, and she gave birth to Ajita. Ajita was the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This same Ajita was the one who this incarnation helped in the churning of the ocean of milk. And this whole 4 chapters will be about the churning of the ocean of milk. And so this Ajita, he later on, of course, he's heading the Devatas, but he also took the form of a tortoise to hold the Mandara mountain on his back. So 4th, 5th, 6th, the 7th Manu. Currently, we are under the reign of the 7th Manu. This is not explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but I'm just telling, just for our understanding. The Srimad Bhagavatam, this chapter only talks about 4th, 5th, and 6th Manu. And the churning of the nectar of ocean happened under the 6th Manu. Current Manu is the 7th Manu. There are 14 Manvantras. We are right in the middle, 7th. His name is Vaivasvata Manu. And the name of the living entities who has occupied, name of the being, I won't say like the living entity, but he is a being who occupies the post of Indra. His name is Purandara, and he is actually an incarnation of Krishna, because there was no living entity qualified to take the post of Indra. So Krishna said, you know what, I'll take the post of Indra. So Purandara is actually the name of the living entity, Indra, and this is the current Manu. But we are talking about previous Manus, especially now we'll be talking about the reign of the 6th Manu, which is Chakshusha, and the Indra we will talk about his name is Mantra Druma. Okay, so Maharaj Parikshit, he told Shukadev Goswami, this is such an interesting thing that you told me. Now I want to know, who is this Ajita? Why did he take the form of tortoise? And what is this churning of the ocean of milk? He was so eager to hear about this churning of ocean. So Shukadev Goswami said, all right, I will explain to you how the Devatas, they were cursed by Durvasa Muni, and they were defeated and battled by the Asuras. This is what happens. This is why we should always be serving the Lord and serving his devotees. Because if we get the curse of the devotees, they come to pass. And then we suffer. But in this chapter, we will understand, in case we are afflicted by the curse of devotees, how do we go through that? How do we take shelter? We've done a mistake. Now what to do? Srimad Bhagavatam tells us, what should we do? So in the 15th and 16th verse of this chapter, 5th chapter, Shri Shuka Uvacha Yada Yuddhe Surai Deva Badhyamana Sita Yudhai Gata Savo Nipatita Notistheran Smabhurisha Yada Durvasa Shapena Sendra Lokastrayo Nripa Nishrikash Chabhavam Statra Neshur Ijyadaya Kriya. Shukadev Goswami said, when the Asuras with their serpent weapons severely attacked the demigods in a fight, many of the demigods fell and lost their lives. Indeed, they could not be revived. At that time, O king, the demigods had been cursed by Durvasa Muni. The three worlds were poverty-stricken, and therefore ritualistic ceremonies could not be performed. The effects of this were very serious. Would you like to know what was the curse that Durvasa Muni gave? Why did he give this curse at all? Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that one time Durvasa Muni was passing on the road and he saw Indra on the back of his elephant, and he was very pleased to offer Indra from his own neck the garland. Indra, he was on Airavat, he was puffed up, and he took the garland, and without respect for Durvasa Muni, he placed it on the trunk of Airavat. Now Airavat, ultimately being an animal, not understanding good or bad, not understanding the value of the garland, he threw the garland from his trunk and trampled it with his legs, smashed it. This was very insulting to Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni, he's known for his anger. You don't want to mess with Durvasa Muni. He immediately cursed Indra. You will be poverty-stricken. Your pride will be smashed, bereft of all opulences. And then the demigods, they were afflicted. When the demons attacked, because they were afflicted by this curse, they were defeated. Because of the curse, they lost all material opulences. Because it's sometimes very risky to be opulent in material advancement, because then that person does not care about anyone. He commits offenses to even great personalities, devotees, and great saints. Shukadev Goswami therefore says, Dhana Durmadandha, which means too much wealth. Dhana Durmada Andha. Too much wealth makes one blind. This happens even to Indra in his heavenly kingdom. So what to speak of others who are all in this earthly planet. So therefore, if we have opulence, a devotee always thinks, depends on Krishna, thanks him, is grateful, but is not attached. We should learn to be sober and well behaved towards Vaishnavas and saintly persons. Otherwise, that devotee will fall down. Okay, so when the demigods, they were deprived of their heavenly kingdom, they went to the assembly house of Lord Brahma and they informed Lord Brahma what had happened. And then Brahma, with all the demigods, they went to the shore of the ocean of milk, Shweta Dvipa, and they offered prayers to Kshirodakshai Vishnu. This is what is recommended. If we are afflicted by a curse, what should we do? We should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Indra, Varuna, all the other demigods, they saw their lives in such a state, they thought, what should we do? So all the demigods assembled to the peak of the Sumera mountain. And there, in the assembly of Lord Brahma, they fell down to offer Lord Brahma their obeisances. And then they informed him all the incidents that have happened. Upon seeing that these demigods were bereft of the opulences and the strength, Lord Brahma concentrated his mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then he became encouraged. He became bright-faced and spoke to the demigods because he heard a voice from within. He said, "Now is the time to invoke the mode of goodness, invoke the Supreme Personality of Godhead." And then Lord Brahma took them to the ocean of milk, Shvetadvipa, and there Lord Brahma offered the prayers, Purusha Sukta prayers, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here it says, simply because Lord Brahma had heard about the Supreme Personality of Godhead from Vedic literature, even though he had never seen the Lord, he just heard about him. With a fixed mind, he offered prayers to the Lord as approved and written by Vedic literature. So this is something very nice. He started glorifying the Lord. "You are changeless. You are unlimited, my Supreme Lord. You are the Supreme Truth. You are the origin of everything. You are all-pervading. You are in everyone's heart and also in the atom. You have no material qualities. In this way, we offer our respectful obeisances unto you." Then in 27th verse, he says, "Vipashchitam prana mano dhiyatmanam arthendriyabhasam anindramavranam chayatapau yatra nagridra pakshau tamaksharam kham triyugam vrajamahe." The Supreme Personality of Godhead directly and indirectly knows how everything, including the life force, mind and intelligence, is working under his control. He's the illuminator of everything, has no ignorance, does not have a material body subject to reactions of previous activities. I therefore take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is eternal, all-pervading, has no ignorance of partiality and materialistic education. Free from all that. He's great as the sky, who appears with 6 opulences in 3 yugas. This ends the chapter 5, where he's praying to Lord Vishnu. Next chapter we will see. But here, if you see, the prayers of the Devatas has a particular pattern. They pray that first they glorify the Lord. Then they tell what our humble and meek position. We do not deserve their mercy. But then we do not deserve. We are so fallen. But then we ask, even though we do not deserve, "My dear Lord, please, we are helplessly dependent on you. This is the pattern. Please give us spiritual advancement. Give us the insight what to do in this situation." We should always pray to the Lord in this way. And then the Lord will answer. Especially if we repeat the prayers that have already been successful. That's why the prayers by Gajendra, the prayers of Queen Kunti, prayers of Prahlad Maharaj, prayers of the wives of the Brahmanas, prayers of the Patnis, Nagapatnis, all prayers by the Vedas, prayers by Lord Brahma. All of these prayers, if we repeat and sing the Vaishnava bhajans, these are tried and tested prayers. They have gotten results. They have been able to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why do we have to reinvent another prayer? If we simply repeat these prayers from heart, Krishna will reciprocate. He will definitely answer. Sometimes his answer may be yes, sometimes it may be no, sometimes his answer may be not now. But he will answer. We think if the answer is no or not now, we think he didn't listen to us. He heard, he always hears. But the answer is not always yes. But we must pray from the heart, repeat the prayers. Otherwise, one time a person said, "Hey, you know what? What is the date of birth of Arjuna?" And everyone said, date of birth of Arjuna, it was in Dwapar Yuga. No, the exact date and the month, the day and the month. It's given in the Bhagavad Gita. And they said, what? It's given in Bhagavad Gita? The date and the month? And this person said, where have you heard this? So this person said, I have read it myself. Did you have any guru, any spiritual master explain to you the Bhagavad Gita? No. I just read the Bhagavad Gita. And there I saw Krishna says the exact day and the month of Arjuna's birth. Everyone was surprised. The devotees were surprised. We never heard in any purport. Srila Prabhupada doesn't mention it. No acharyas mention it. How come he found it out without any proper guidance? He said, what is the verse? He said, in the 4th chapter, haven't you read your Bhagavad Gita? It says, Krishna says, Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava charjuna. He says, Bahuni me vyatitani, there are many births that we have taken. I have taken. Bahuni me vyatitani. I was with you. Janmani tava charjuna. See, he says, Janmani birth, tava your charjuna. 4th June. 4th June is the date of birth of Arjuna. Krishna is saying that. And all the devotees, they said, where do I go and break my head? This is not what it means by Charjuna. It means Cha Arjuna. Hey Arjuna, many births you have passed. This is what happens if we try to recite our own prayers or try to read the scriptures without any proper spiritual guidance from a pure devotee of the Lord. We just misinterpret left, right, center. So let's just repeat with our heart the prayers of the demigods. The Devatas, they did mistake. This is something which we can learn from this chapter. They did a mistake. They offended a devotee, Durvasa Muni. And as a result, they got this curse. They accepted that situation. And they went asking for help, higher spiritual guidance, spiritual help. And then Lord Brahma took them to Lord Vishnu to take shelter. They guided them, take shelter of Lord Vishnu. This is what it means to accept a situation. To accept a situation means to not think of what if scenario. Oh, what if I wouldn't have given it to Airavat? Oh no, just because of that now look what happened to me. What if I would have taken it? I would have still been very glorious. I would have still won. There is no use to think about what if. It's just a waste of time. Only thing in the Japa book, Bhurijan Prabhu writes, the only thing that we should think of a what if situation is what if I would have not left Krishna? What if I would have been in the spiritual world? This is the only regret that we should have, and we should cultivate and act upon it by begging for Krishna's mercy. Nothing else matters. No other what if situation is going to help us in any way. Only this what if, this regret will help us, not any other regret of this material world. Because it has happened, now let's see how do we deal with it. And this is now when they go to Vishnu, Vishnu will tell how to deal. Krishna has the upaya for everything. So we go to chapter 6, the demigods and demons, they declare a truce. It says, because of the prayers that were offered by the demigods that we heard in the previous chapter, Kshirodakshai Vishnu, who is in the Shweta Dvipa, he was pleased with the demigods and he appeared before them. And the demigods, just seeing the effulgence that was coming out of the body of Lord Vishnu, they were almost blinded by his transcendental body, transcendental effulgence. First, they could not even see any part of his body. But after some time, when Brahma was able to have the vision to see the Lord, along with Lord Shiva, Brahma started offering prayers again. He said, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are beyond birth and death. You are You are eternal. You have no material qualities. You're subtler than the subtlest. Invisible. Your form is inconceivable. So many different things. He starts talking about how the idea of pantheism conceived by Mayavadi philosophy have no validity. And then he talks about Buddhi Yoga. And when offered prayers by Lord Shiva and by Lord Brahma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kshirodakshai Vishnu, he was pleased. He gave instructions to all the demigods. He said, I am Ajita. Ajita. Jita means conquer. Ajita, unconquerable. He advised the demigods, I will tell you something. You have been defeated by the demons. They are your greatest enemies. I'm going to advise you something controversial. But if you follow my advice, you will be successful. You make a peace proposal with the demons. And after forming a truce, you churn this ocean of milk, this Shweta Dvipa, this particular ocean of milk. And then all the demigods, how do we churn this milk, this ocean? How do we churn? Has anyone churned oceans? We are so tiny in front of this oceanic milk ocean. He said, don't worry. Your rope will be the great snake Vasuki. And then your churning rod will be the Mandara mountain. Now, remember, a lot of things will come out of this churning. The poison. Then, a lot of attractive things, a lot of fearful things. You will be tired and disturbed. You should neither be attracted to good things nor get angry if there are some disturbances. If you promise that, you'll be successful. And if we see, this is how, when we churn the ocean of our hearts, when we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, we are churning the ocean of our hearts. And then whatever things come out of this ocean of milk are the things that come out from our hearts. Let's see which things come out of our hearts. The Lord, after saying, make a truce, he disappeared. So the demigod said, okay, they followed the instructions. They started peace with Maharaj Bali. At that time, Bali was at the peak. And when both demons and demigods, they started for the ocean, they agreed, okay, we will churn the ocean of milk. They took Mandara mountain. But because of the great heaviness of the mountain, they all became fatigued, tired. Some of the demigods actually died. And then the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, he appeared on the back of his carrier, Garuda. And by his mercy, he brought all these demigods and demons who had died, he brought them back to life. Then Garuda took Vishnu closer to Mandara mountain to a close look. The Lord lifted the mountain with one of his hands and placed it on the back of Garuda. Garuda started flying with his huge wings and folded hands. Garuda took the mountain, placed it on the churning spot near the sea. Then the Lord asked Garuda, my dear Garuda, now you leave. Because now I'm going to invoke Vasuki. Vasuki the serpent will not come until as long as you are here. He's afraid of Garuda. For the greater benefit, thank you for your service. We'll see you soon. Please, we request you to leave. Garuda left, Vasuki appeared. And then this ends the chapter 6. We go to chapter 7, titled Lord Shiva saves the universe by drinking poison. So if we see, so far the Lord has helped in the churning of the ocean. Similarly, when we are sincere for churning our heart, purifying our heart, the Lord arranges everything. The churning rod is like the holy name. And the way we churn is like the spiritual master who's helping us. So then with this understanding, when the great snake came, Vasuki, Ajita, who was the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who came on Garuda, his name was Ajita, that incarnation. He was also the son of one of the Shubhra. And so this Ajita, he went to the front of the snake and held the mouth of the snake. And all the demigods, Devatas, immediately lined up behind Vishnu. And then the demons, they were not happy with this arrangement. They were like, they thought it's unwise to hold the tail, the inauspicious portion of the snake. Instead, they wanted to hold the front, which had been taken by the personality of God and the demigods. And so the demons, they said, we are also advanced in Vedic knowledge. We are also famous for our birth and activities. Why should we take the back of the snake? We want the front of the snake. So the demons were silent, opposing the desire, silent protests by the demons. So then Ajita, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he understood the intention of the demons. And he smiled, Asmita. He understood without discussion. He immediately accepted their proposal. You want the front of the snake? All right. You want to go and get all the poison? Fine. Take it. It's all yours. He did not protest. Sometimes we come in this situation. We think the other side is always greener. If someone has, we always work on comparing. But that, oh, this person has millions of dollars. Oh, that must be better. But you don't know what all issues come along with that, what all he's going through. We are always comparing. I must have something that other person has, but that other person has a completely different journey of life. His karmas are different. He's going through different lessons in life. And we are going through different lessons in life. We cannot compare each other's journey. Just because the other person has it, he has it for a reason. He or she has it for a particular reason, which is good or bad for that person. Just because they have it, we don't need to have it. So here, Ajita said he was completely satisfied. Yeah, come over. So then, after this adjusting how the snake to be held, both the demigods and demons, Devatas, they began their activity. And they started churning the ocean of milk. And with great endeavor, they were pulling the snake in both directions. Because the churning rod, Mandara mountain, the churning rod was very heavy. This mountain was huge, heavy. Many devatas and demons died under it. Because even though it was tied with the Vasuki, the snake, it fell down. It could not be held by any support in the water. It sank into the ocean. All the demigods, all the devatas, all the demons, what's going on? What will happen now? Ajita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he expanded himself, took the incarnation of Kurmadev, Shri Kurmadev ki jai, of tortoise, and supported the Mandara mountain on his back. It is said by Srila Jayadev Goswami that he, the tortoise incarnation, Kurmadev, he's glorified. He took this particular incarnation just because he was having an itch on his back. And this churning of the rod of Mandara mountain was simply removing the itch on the Kurmadev's back. Yeah, so this was very wonderful way of looking at it. So then they started churning Mandara mountain. The first thing that came out was a huge amount of poison called Kalakuta. Actually, first there was poisonous gas and everything that came out, but then this poison came out, Kalakuta. And then the demons, the Devatas, just by its smell and the flavor, they were dying. And the Prajapatis, they said, this particular poison will kill the entire universe. So they approached Lord Shiva. They said, Lord Shiva, please help us. Lord Shiva, he's called as Ashutosh because he's very, very pleased by his devotees. So he easily agreed to drink all the poison that was generated by churning. Now, seeing this goddess Durga, Bhavani, the wife of Lord Shiva, she was not at all disturbed at all. When Lord Shiva agreed to drink the poison, she knew Lord Shiva's prowess. Actually, she was very happy. She expressed her pleasure at this agreement. And then Nilakantha, Lord Shiva, gathered that devastating poison, which was everywhere. He took it in his hand and drank it. And that's why his throat became blue and he was known as Nilakantha. Lord Shiva is so merciful. Vaishnavanam yatha shambhu. After he drank the poison, his neck became bluish. And a small quantity of the poison, because he had captured all of that huge quantity in his hands, some of the quantity dropped from his hands to the ground. And this poison was taken by the snakes and scorpions and toxic plants and other poisonous things in the world. They have become poisonous because of that poison, which the Mahaprasad of Lord Shiva. Now, we should not try to take that Mahaprasad from the serpents and scorpions, but we can remember Lord Shiva in that way and his glories. We will be in such situations. This is the Anusmarana we must have from this chapter. This ends chapter 7. That we will be in situations where we have to work with people that we do not like, just like the Devatas had to work with the demons. They were enemies. But because Krishna said, for the greater good, you have to work with each other. They did it because they had a higher purpose. Srila Prabhupada said, you will please me. If you want to please me, cooperate with each other. That will please me the most. Because in Kali Yuga, that is the biggest danger. Non-cooperation. And cooperation, by the way, is two ways. Generally, we say you cooperate. No, if it's a cooperate, then it's both operate together, not just one side. Yeah, so that is very important. So when we are in this situation where we have to work with people that we don't like, but for a higher purpose, if we understand, oh, we are doing it for the mission of Srila Prabhupada, so let's work together for the mission of Prabhupada. What this person said about me and what I said about this person, that doesn't matter. That's too small compared to the bigger mission of saving this world. If you're always focused on assisting our spiritual master and Srila Prabhupada in spreading their mercy all over the world, then we will not be disturbed by these tiny things because we have a higher purpose. Just like Ajita gave a higher purpose to the demigods, Srila Prabhupada has given us that higher purpose of the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, hearing and chanting, the Sankirtan movement. If we are disturbed by this, we should pray to the Lord for shelter. We need to have that relationship with the Lord as priority. Then we will not need validation from anyone else and not feel lonely, not feel that someone should love me, or for me to be complete, I need love from someone or different people. No. We need to feel complete with the love of God that we have. And then real love is when we share that completeness within us with others. That is love. With our wife, with our children. Rather than thinking my wife, my husband, my children, they will complete me. I am incomplete without their love. That's not love. We are incomplete only without Krishna's love. And if we develop that, we can share that complete love with each other. That is real love. Then we won't expect people to validate us or feel bad when someone does not reciprocate or validate us, because we have the eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which no one can take away from us. This ends chapter 7. We start chapter 8, the churning of the milk ocean. After Lord Shiva drank poison, both the Devatas and demons, they took courage back and they resumed their activities for churning again. Because of this churning, first a Surabhi cow was produced. When we churn the nectar of our heart, the ocean of our heart, there are so many anarthas that are hidden from time immemorial. All of these anarthas will come out first in the form of the poison. And we need someone like Lord Shiva to drink that poison. In the association of devotees, the spiritual master, they help us remove that poison from the heart, the lust, the pride, the greed, the anger, arrogance, so many different things. But once that goes away, Surabhi cow comes. The great persons, they accepted the Surabhi cow to derive clarified butter from milk. Surabhi cow saved Indra from the wrath of Krishna when he offended the devotees. Krishna doesn't forgive offense to devotees. But on the insistence of the Surabhi cow who came from this ocean, churning of the ocean, he was saved. Then from Surabhi cow, the milk that comes, there is butter, ghee that is made, and this ghee is offered in great sacrifices. Then came a horse named Uchchaishrava. This horse was taken by the king of the demons, Bali Maharaj. Then appeared Airavat and other elephants that could go anywhere in any direction. And the she-elephants also appeared. Then came Kaustubha Mani, which Lord Vishnu, he took that gem, placed the Kaustubha Mani on his chest. Then came a Parijata flower and the Apsaras, the most beautiful women in the universe. They were generated. And after that, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, appeared. So once that poison comes out of our heart, all these auspicious things will start coming out. Along with Radharani, love for Radharani like Lakshmi Devi, she appeared. The Devatas, the great sages, Gandharvas, and everyone, they offered their worship. And she had a garland in her hand, which was surrounded by bumblebees. She was walking among the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, the Asuras, all these different kinds of Devatas, the Siddhas, Charanas. She was scrutinizingly examining them. Who is worthy of this garland? But she could not find anyone who was naturally endowed with all the good qualities. Everyone had some fault or the other. So she could not take shelter on any of them. She started thinking, there is someone here who has undergone great austerity, but he has not yet conquered anger. Look at this one. He possesses great knowledge, but he's not conquered material desires. Someone is a great personality, but he cannot conquer his lusty desires. Even this great personality depends on something else. Who is that something else that this great person depends on? That means this person is not the supreme controller. I want to garland this to a supreme controller with whom I can take shelter. Then she started thinking someone possesses great power, but in front of time, his power goes away. Someone may be renounced of this material world, but he cannot compare to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then, in this way, after full deliberation, Goddess of Fortune, Mother Lakshmi, she accepted Mukunda as her husband because he is independent. Although he does not need Lakshmi Devi, but he possesses all the transcendental qualities and mystic powers. Therefore, he's the most desirable. So she approached the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Goddess of Fortune, in text 24, it says, placed upon his shoulders the garland of newly grown lotus flowers, which was surrounded by humming bumblebees searching for honey. Then, expecting to get a place in the bosom of the Lord, she remained standing by his side, her face smiling in shyness. The Goddess of Fortune could not find anyone to accept as her husband. Then she selected Lord Vishnu, master. He gave her a place to stay at his chest. And because of this combination of Lakshmi and Narayan, all who were present, including the Devatas and the people in general, they were very pleased. And the demons were very depressed because they were completely neglected by Goddess Lakshmi. Then after that, the churning continued, and Varuni, the goddess of drinking, was generated. And the demons, by order of Lord Vishnu, demons accepted. And again, they started churning. Then, from there, after Varuni came a very, very beautiful personality. He was strongly built. His arms were long and stout, strong. His neck was marked with 3 lines. It resembled a conch shell. His eyes were reddish. His complexion was blackish, very young. He was garlanded with flowers. Entire body was fully decorated with various ornaments. Text 33 describes this personality. He was dressed in yellow garments. He wore brightly polished earrings made up of pearls, and the tip of his hair were anointed with oil. His chest was broad. His body had all the good features. He was stout and strong like a lion. He was decorated with bangles. In his hand, he carried a jug filled with nectar. This person, his name was Dhanvantari, who is a plenary portion of Lord Vishnu. He was conversant with the science of medicine, with Ayurveda. And as one of the demigods, he was also permitted to take share in the sacrifices. But then, the demons, they wanted that pot of nectar. They snatched the jug from Dhanvantari's hand and began to run away. And the Devatas, being very morose, they took shelter of Vishnu. Vishnu, what can we do? Look here, this is a very, very common theme. As soon as they're in trouble, they take shelter of Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Mahabaho, help me, help me. This is what we should do. So then the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, don't be aggrieved. By my energy, I will now deliver them. Look, I will create a quarrel amongst these demons, and then I will fulfill your desire, O demigods. So then a quarrel started arising amongst the demons. You cannot drink it first. I will drink it first. Me first, not you. And in this way, some of the demons said, all of these devatas, they've taken part in the churning of the ocean of milk. Now everyone has an equal right to partake in the public sacrifice. So it is now befitting that the demigods now have a share of the nectar. So in this way, the weaker demons, they forbade the stronger demons that no, because they couldn't get it, they said, you should also not get it. Let's share it with the devatas. And in this fighting, ultimately, Lord Vishnu took the form of Mohini Murti. This is where we end this chapter, and from tomorrow onwards we will discuss what happened with the pastime of Mohini Murti. What happened to the churning of the ocean of milk? In the end, the last verse of this chapter says something very, very beautiful about Vishnu. Vishnu Sarva Upayavit. Lord Vishnu is Sarva Upayavit, is one who has solution to every problem, who knows how to deal with different situations. Srila Prabhupada translates it, one who knows how to deal with different situations. So Krishna knows if we are in trouble, we should go to him. Please help me. And then, based on our sincerity, Krishna will respond. So with this, we will end today's discussion. And if there are any questions or comments, we can take now. Before that, we would like to thank our participants in the quiz for yesterday on YouTube. Shweta Manjiri Mataji, Reena Mataji, Geeta Mataji, Keshavi Mataji, Vrindavani Mataji, Vijeta Mataji, Hari Krishna Madali Mataji, Shweta Surya Narayan Mataji. On Facebook, Ranjani Gopika Mataji, Shama Supriya Mataji, Shweta Mataji, and Meena Mataji. Yesterday we heard about the pastime of Gajendra. There's one wonderful point about it, which says that why Vishnu killed the crocodile first? Why didn't he rescue Gajendra first? Because ultimately he takes Gajendra back home, back to Godhead. So why didn't he directly do that? Why did he have to kill a crocodile? It is said because the crocodile had taken shelter of the lotus feet of a devotee like Gajendra. Therefore, Krishna wanted to purify him as well and liberate him. In this way, he liberated the crocodile as well as Gajendra. Crocodile did not pray. He was just catching to the lotus feet of Gajendra who prayed. So even if we don't know the prayers, if we can catch hold of our lotus feet of our spiritual master who knows how to pray, we will get the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All right. If there are any questions, we can take now. But the quiz for this session is, first, the churning of the milk ocean happened under the reign of which Manu? What is the current name of the living entity occupying the post of Indra? Who cursed Indra? And what was the result of that curse? Who was used as the rope in the churning of the ocean of milk? Who was used as the churning rod? Who is Ajita? And who did he incarnate as and why? What was the name of the poison that first came from the churning of the milk ocean? What was the name given to Lord Shiva after he drank the poison? Who came out first after the poison from the ocean of milk? What was the name of the horse who came from the ocean? What was the name of the gem that came out from the ocean? So there is one question from Swati Mataji. How can we understand that our heart is getting churned? Did it get fully churned in pure devotees association? Is it possible in one lifetime? Yes, it is possible in one lifetime, but only because of the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, a pure devotee of Krishna, has promised, if you chant 16 rounds attentively, follow 4 regulative principles, serve devotees, assist in the preaching mission, you will go back home, back to Godhead. Even if we are not qualified. Because Srila Prabhupada has said this, Konteya pratijanihi namay bhakta pranashyati. Krishna will make sure that this comes to pass. One time a devotee asked, Srila Prabhupada, in Vrindavan, I'm staying in Vrindavan, but I am just engaged in things, in just bricks and mortars. If I die today, instead of thinking of Krishna's pastimes, I will be thinking about bricks and cement and mortar. How will I ever go back home, back to Godhead? Srila Prabhupada said, don't worry. If that moment happens, because you are serving the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya will come in your mind and dance like a madman in such a way that you will be forced to think of him at the time of death. So by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, if we follow his instructions, his devotees, we will. It is possible in one lifetime. How do we know that our heart is getting churned? There is a wonderful book called Madhurya Kadambini. Someday we'll give a seminar on this Madhurya Kadambini, written by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, where he explains there are 9 stages of devotional service. Adau Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha, Tata Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prem. All these 9 stages. So of this, the Anartha Nivritti stage is the longest. It may take lifetimes. Srila Prabhupada's mercy, it can happen quickly. But we will see that our desire for name and fame is quietening down. Our desire for profit, adoration, distinction is quietening down. Our desire for sense gratification is quietening down. If we chant 16 rounds every day, single day, minimum, then our level of anarthas are at, even though anarthas may be there, they will not disturb us because of Krishna's protection. Srila Prabhupada said, Krishna will protect you from your own anarthas if you chant 16 rounds minimum every day. This is the benefit of chanting 16 rounds. Even though the chanting of the holy name is purifying our heart, still with all the anarthas that are yet to be purified, the 16 rounds will keep them at a level that they will not disturb us. Then we know that this bhakti, as soon as we stop chanting and hearing, that whole thing explodes. So we should be very careful about that. Next question. In the milk, Meena Mataji, in the milk ocean, Garbhodakshayi Vishnu is residing. Then how come Kshirodakshayi Vishnu resides in ocean? Oh, in the milk ocean is Kshirodakshayi Vishnu. Garbhodakshayi Vishnu resides in the Garbhodaka Sagar. Garbhodaka Sagar is actually the sweat of Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, Kshirodakshayi Vishnu. Mahavishnu is exhaling. All the universes come out from his pores, including his sweat water, which is the Garbhodak ocean. Of there, he expands as Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, from whose navel comes the lotus flower. Lord Brahma is on top. And then Garbhodakshayi Vishnu expands into each and every atom in the universe. That is Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, the Paramatma within our heart. That Kshirodakshayi Vishnu actually resides in Shweta Dvipa, which is like a spiritual world within this material world, within each universe. And that Shweta Dvipa, white island, is surrounded by an ocean of milk. So I hope that explains the question. All right, so without further ado, thank you very much again for attending this session and for your blessings. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.